A lot of positives for Ireland in their win in Tbilisi. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Overall, I think a decent performance from Ireland. This one, Georgia certainly game for a lot of the match, but they apart from really that little period before half time, didn't put a whole amount of pressure on Ireland in the main, but they did give Ireland a big examination in the scrum. So, first of all, quick start from Ireland. Good work from Osborne, brings them into the 22, penalty advantage. Prendergast then puts a chip that Tommy O'Brien does really well to collect. He goes over to score, converted by Prendergast for 7 points to 0. Then they try the same move again a few minutes later, not as close to the line this time. Tommy O'Brien, from that chip then kicks the ball on, and Lobanatnitsa has to ground it, take it over and ground it behind his own lines. It's 5 minute scrum to Ireland. Ireland then go wide from that scrum. A bounce pass from Prendergast puts O'Brien over in the corner, converted for 14 points to 0. Georgia then come forward looking to get into the game. Some decent play from them before Coombs gets over the ball for Ireland and puts a stop to it. Georgia then win the scrum penalty, but Karkadze, he basically a bit too excited, exuberant, I think, in his celebration. Starts around the handbags and the penalty gets reversed. Ireland goes to the corner. Ireland then, a little while after that, kind of the same period of play, they win a scrum penalty of their own. They then move it left from the scrum. They got numbers, but the ball isn't very clean. And then Prendergast comes on the wrap, but he has a foot in touch as he grounds. We come back for that scrum penalty. They go to the corner, line out not straight from Gus McCarthy, and Georgia, got somebody up to compete, so it was a chance wasted. Georgia then win a penalty at the scrum as they pop Boyle, and they're able to kick the ball clear. O'Brien then with a good take from a kick. Stockdale comes on a good line and then puts, good speed and strength from him, then puts a nice cross grubber in behind. It is too strong from McCluskey, but Ireland with a chance to put pressure on Georgia close to their own line. But then a dangerous cleared out and they let them off the hook there. And, it's those few little things, like just the accuracy in all parts of their play, like that they'll want to clean up on. But again, I think for the most part, it was fairly positive. Play then, it stopped. Stockdale has to go off, and he's basically got his arm wrapped in the bottom of his jersey. So, looked bad. And, he's had terrible luck with injuries. So wish him, a speedy recovery. Probably, unfortunately, well, we'll see, but, may not see him again, this summer. So this is a great chance for him to kind of put himself really properly back into the mix for a wing spot for Ireland. But, if it's another layoff for him, then you kind of, not that it's going to be career ending or anything. It's just his career's been so stop start because of all the injuries. It's not good for him. Georgia then smash Ireland in the scrum just before the break. They go up the line to around about halfway. Baird then steals the line out, and then they win a penalty. And they go up the line into the 22. Ireland move the ball from the line out, but McCluskey is isolated as Jalagonia gets over the ball to win a penalty. He did a decent game for Georgia. They then win another penalty on halfway. Gus McCarthy off his feet, competing at the breakdown. Now they go up the line into 22. Big moment in the game here. Ireland collapse the maul. Another penalty. They get a warning from the referee that basically next one's going to the bin. Georgia then kicks to the corner. They throw to the middle of the line out, but then they pop it down to a pod at the front. and they're able to drive over. The Irish defence weren't separate, and it's Gerogia is the score. Conversions missed, 14 points to 5, and that's a halftime score. Ireland then, another quick start to the half here. Within like the first minute of the game, Nash gets a loose ball. He breaks the line, finds Baird in support, and then Baird does really well. Just offloads to Casey at just the right time, and he goes over, converted for 21 points to 5. Georgia then frigid at the breakdown, and Ireland call for the tee. Prendergast makes it 24 points to 5. Timoney then not rolling away, and Georgia decide to kick to the corner. I thought, he was kind of lucky because Ireland were on that warning that he might have gone to the bin at that stage. Ireland initially then looked to have kind of halted the maul, but then they burst through and they go over. We have a TMO check though for a possible knock on, and we see that Karkadze dropped the ball as he went for the line, so no try, and really good pressure from Coombs in to tackle to dislodge that ball there. Ireland then with a penalty at the scrum, and they're able to clear. And second half, the first half, there's no doubt Georgia were on top in the scrums. Ireland were winning some penalties, but you have to say, definitely they were, the dominant side. Is some of the scrums are very, very good, very powerful. But then second half, then Ireland really turned it around. So fair play to them. Starting front row and then the replacement front row, I thought did very well with that. Then Georgia holding onto the ball for a prolonged period. But really they're only getting up to about halfway before then they go off feet, because Ireland, are competing at the breakdown there, and they're trying to stop them. So Ireland go up the line from that penalty. Georgia infringe in the line out, and Ireland then decide to go for the post. Prendergast lands a penalty, but with an assist from the inside of the right hand post, 27 points to 5. Then we have bit of a scuffed cross kick from Prendergast, in the 22 to Nick Timoney. He picks up the bouncing ball. He's got two defenders in front of him, and just really good strength, and then stretches out. We have a TMO, check to see if he actually got the ball down, and whether it was actually a try or not. And yeah, you can see, does really good to, first of all, strength to get close enough to the line, then be able to stretch out and place the ball down to score. And that's converted then for 34 points to 5. Georgia, now they come forward, you only got a couple of minutes on the clock, and they're looking for that final score of the game. And they're applying pressure on the line. They get a penalty. They want to tap and go quickly. McCluskey knocked back 10, so he goes to the bin. And I think that was, deserved, whatever way you look at it, whether it was accumulation of penalties or just, kind of cynical play there. Georgia then, they go to the corner, and, they go to the maul then, but then Deegan, who come off the bench, comes right through the middle and is able to turn the ball over. Ireland's scrum then is very solid, and as I said, much improved in the second half, and they're able to clear. And then last minute, there's a bit kind of both teams looking to get the final score, but nothing really comes of it. So full time is 34 points to 5. Okay, so let's have a quick look at some of the stats, and then we'll have another quick talk about the players as well. So let me pull the stats up here for the game. Let me find it on here. That's there. Okay. So, we don't even have. Oh, great. Hang on, give me a second, because I thought this website sometimes it has stats and sometimes it doesn't. So, give me a second here to see if we can find some stats. Otherwise, we'll just go down through the Ireland team and talk about very briefly how players or combinations went in it. So no stats yet so we'd have to wait for those. Right, so let's just talk about the Ireland team then. So first of all, Jimmy O'Brien, a fullback, decent enough game from him. Not too many things wrong, and contributed well as well in attack and defence. Tommy O'Brien got himself 2 tries. Could have had a hat-trick there towards the end as well. Ireland were attacking. Nash, though, absolutely fizzed the ball at him. Not a very sympathetic pass, unfortunately, and he didn't get in for his hat-trick, but certainly 2 tries well deserved. And he's a player that he's really, put in the hard graft to, first of all, get into Leinster's first team and now into the Ireland team as well. So good to see that being rewarded, because it was something, if you've watched the channel for a while, I was talking about with Leinster was you had these young players who were, performing, but then when it came to the big games, the basic positions were reserved, and it was very hard for somebody to actually break into the first team. So well done to him on that. Jamie Osborne, decent in the midfield. McCluskey, not as brilliant as we've seen him in the past, and and then he got that yellow card as well. And again, it may have just been an accumulation of penalties that led to it, but still, he was the one that got the yellow card. I really like him as a player, but it's kind of the situation now where you have Osborne coming through, and there are in not just in Leinster, but in the other provinces as well, you have some centres coming through as well. So it's whether McCluskey is really going to add something to the squad in the future. Again, I think he's an excellent player. It's just that consistency of performance, I think, that he needs to nail. Then Jacob Stockdale looked lively. He's looked great, since getting a run in the Ulster team, getting themselves tries and stuff there as well. But that arm injury is a big worry. Sam Prendergast then at 10, a bit of a mixed bag, mostly positive, honestly, in this, but at the same time, even some of the positives, when you're looking at it, like bounce passes and kind of scuff kicks that come off, was great, but you'd rather them be a little bit more accurate, passing to hand, and allowing the player to actually use his full momentum coming onto the ball, because I think there was a few chances were missed because the passes weren't great that were going out. So certainly, we know he has a brilliant range of passing and is able to spot it, but maybe against better opposition, some of those passes, could have blown chances or even led to, big turnovers and big gains for the opposition as well. So, but overall, I think fairly positive from him. Kicking from the tee was much better than we've seen from, I think he went to 100% today. So obviously been working on that. Craig Casey then at 9, real live wire as usual, very busy around the park. He's always there, like when something's going on, right? He's always seems to be there in the middle of it. But, at least in this game, kind of a positive effect. Like sometimes in games, he has that thing where he'll start trouble and stuff, and maybe give away silly penalties or whatever. But he was grand in this one. Then the starting front row, so Jack Boyle, Gus McCarthy, and Thomas Clarkson, as I said, kind of. I wouldn't say that they struggled in the scrum, because again they won some scrum penalties as well. But Georgia, some of the scrums Georgia put in, just absolutely melted the Ireland scrum. But it wasn't, it wasn't one of these ones where just every time there was scrum coming, Ireland were getting penalised and these guys were getting destroyed. There was a few big efforts from the Georgians that really paid off, but then Ireland put in some big efforts themselves and got some penalties back their way. But again, Georgia definitely the better in the scrum in the first half, but Ireland then, these guys, credit to them turning around in the second half, and then, the replacements as well then when they come on. Cormac Izuchukwu, another guy that I've really admired, him coming through at Ulster there and looking like a real kind of prospect. But this performance for me, not brilliant. Now, he was in the second row, whereas, I think he's more, personally, I think he's more effective in the back row. But when you've got himself and Baird there, like, one of them's going to have to play 6 and the other one's going to be in the second row. So, and maybe, I don't know, maybe that's where they see Izuchukwu's future is in the second row rather than the back row. So we'll have to see how that develops. Then Dara Murray, I still don't know why he pronounces his name like that, but like, if he pronounced it that way, I guess we have to too. Thought he was decent, like set piece, especially in the line out, very good, option in the line out there. And, running the line out as well. I think he was doing as well. So, fairly good from him. Ryan Bird was excellent. Nick Timoney, kind of the first half, maybe a bit quiet, and in the second half, really come on, got his try and some strong carries and really good defensive interventions as well. Gavin Coombs, really good defensively, causing that knock on where Georgia could have got their second try and getting over the ball at times as well to win penalties. And then some, not as many maybe of those carries we associate with him, and certainly not as kind of prominent when Ireland were close to the line. But Ireland didn't have, unlike Georgia, didn't have too many periods where they were, camped right on the line, which is where you want to go to Coombs, because for the most part he's probably going to get over for you. Replacements then, Tom Stewart, 2 seasons ago, top try scorer in the URC, and then since then kind of a little bit injury affected and not seeing as much game time because of that, and I think a loss to form as well. So good to see him on there. I think himself, Milne, and Ainger, who was making his debut as well, Stewart wasn't making his debut, but Ainger was making his debut. But as a unit, they when they come on together, I thought again went really well in the scrum and in line out too, and contributed around the field. So you can't ask much more than that. Thomas Ahern then, like a guy that for me he's made for the test arena. He's just such a great athlete, and it was great to see him coming on. Didn't see much of him in terms of carries or wherever, but the more game time he gets, we're going to see that, because it's a big part of his game. Max Deegan then, coming on there, he had a really good end to the season with Leinster, and big part in that that win down in South Africa where they came back against the Sharks, and just kind of went from there through the knockout stages as well, with some very good contributions to the team. And then coming off the bench here, one big intervention where he came through the middle of the maul and disrupted it, and that's something that I think Ireland were missing in the first half, was that ability. Normally you would think maybe someone like Coombs would be doing that, but for whatever reason, maybe just not in it just turned out that he wasn't in the right position to be able to affect that. And then the backs that come on, Calvin Nash looking lively. Pity that he not a very sympathetic pass to Tommy O'Brien, because it would have been nice just first of all for him to get a try assist, and for Tommy to get his to get his score as well. For me, I think Nash, I wouldn't say treated badly by Ireland. I think that would be going a bit too far, but I think unlucky that he was basically, for me, the man in possession on the right wing spot. But then Mac Hansen came back from injury and he was straight into the team. Whereas I felt that Nash had maybe done enough to make to make Hansen win the spot back. So but a very good option for Ireland on the wing, certainly. Then you have Ben Murphy, who has been doing really well. Over in Connacht, had a brilliant start to the season, and maybe went off the boil a little bit, but then came back again towards the end of the season. So it's good to see him in the mix here as well. Jack Crowley, I hope that we're going to see more of him in the game against Portugal. Hopefully he gets a start in that one, or at least gets a decent period on the pitch, because I'm not sure exactly how long he got in this one. But yeah, I want to see more of him and Green. And for me, you know, himself and Prendergast very close together, and you know, you need to develop both of them at the same time, which means that you need to be giving more, you know, more closely aligned kind of equal time to them as well playing. So hopefully we're going to see maybe a Crowley start against Portugal. So yeah, that was it from Ireland. You know, Georgia were obviously looking to you know, cause an upset in this one, but again, it was only that period just before half time really that they really applied pressure on Ireland, other than the scrums, as I said, in the first half. But you know, Georgia, you can see, like, you know, that that they've got a solid team there, and it's a case of, you know, there's talk of potentially, I think Blackline, which is the Georgian team that plays in the Challenge Cup, potentially joining the URC, and I think that's the next step that they need, is, you know, having it's not just a case of, you know, having players playing at the top level, because they have a lot of players playing in France, but it's more having a team that's based in Georgia playing in a top league that's really going to bring them on. Because we saw it as well with kind of Argentina, where, you know, they don't have it anymore, but when they had the Jaguares in Super Rugby, that really helped them kick on another level. And, you know, luckily for them, even though they got kicked out of Super Rugby, they still were able to kind of maintain those levels afterwards. But for me, it really was a big help to really bring them on to another level. Because before that, they, you know, always like a very good side, but they felt like a team that were, that would produce upsets, rather than, you know, now, like, they're fifth in the world and they're, you know, completely on merit. And, you know, they've gone to semi-finals of World Cups, etc. And, you know, I think that was a real help for them in terms of just developing their players. So hopefully Georgia gets something like that. You know, for me, again, I don't like the idea of a closed shop in rugby, and let's just look after our own unions and, you know, talk about, like, I think the pandemic kind of scared a lot of unions in terms of, you know, looking too far to the future, that they're just trying to secure their balance sheets right now. And, you know, obviously, you know, a lot of them carrying a lot of debt, and, or like, you know, retained profits from maybe decades got wiped out during the pandemic as well. So, you know, can see why they'd be reticent in terms of looking too far to the future. But for me, it's a case of, you know, I want rugby to grow to such a size that the you know, you make the pie bigger, right? And even if you're getting, because you've more countries or teams or wherever involved, you're maybe getting a smaller slice of the pie. If you make the pie like 3, 5, 10 times bigger, and your slice is maybe half of what it was before, you're still getting a lot more, you know, overall. So, you know, hopefully we're going to see development for Georgia. But for Ireland, certainly this decent game here, and, you know, let's see how they do against Portugal.